Hi class, Miss Hall here. In this video, we are going to review problem number 17 from chapter 10 exercises. In this problem, it wants us to create a procedure to draw 4 turtles at the 4 corners of a square using the stamp procedure. We learned in chapter 1, we were initially introduced to turtles, where we know those are turtles are objects. We learned back in chapter 5 that the turtle object has some procedures that we can use with it. We practice with the pin up and forward and a few other procedures, the shape procedure. We've practiced with those in chapter 5, and in this chapter we are going to practice with the stamp procedure. And so of course, just going back to chapter 1 and chapter 5, when using turtles, you have to always make sure that you go ahead and type in that line of code that will provide you access to the turtle library. And so that line of code is basically saying from the turtle library import all. And it's a little backwards, but this is what that is saying here. This is the name of the library, turtle. These are keywords, as you can see in purple, and this asterisk means all, everything. So once you have that line of code, no, you cannot access any procedures or objects from the turtle library until you have that line of code. So if you're getting an error saying such and such does not exist, it may be because you have either forgotten to add this line of code first, or maybe you typed it incorrectly. So next we're going to need to provide a screen space for the turtle to move around on. So we're just going to give it a variable name of space, and we are going to assign that variable the screen procedure, which again provides a little window for defines the window or area that the turtle will move around in. We also need to give the turtle a name. I'm just going to name mine teacher, so that you know that this is the turtle that I'm creating. I'm assigning the turtle object to my teacher variable. So that way, whenever I want to access the turtle object, because I can't access it directly, I have to access it through my variable name, which again is teacher. All right, so now let's define a procedure that where we can utilize and draw our square with the stamp procedure from the turtle object. So first, of course, let's define our procedure. We're just going to say draw square procedure. I like to put procedure up there just to help you remember that this is a procedure, not a function, because we know functions return values, and we're not returning anything in this procedure. So we're going to pass some parameters in this procedure. Basically, we're going to need to know the turtle. So we'll have a procedure, a variable that will hold that value, as well as the steps, or the how far we want the turtle to move, which would determine how big our square would be, right? So of course, whenever you're defining a procedure or function, you have to have your colon, and once you do that, it's going to indent your next line. First things first, we need to go ahead and tell the turtle to pick up the pen. So we'll use the pen procedure. Go ahead and, of course, got to have the teacher. That's me referencing the turtle. So teacher.pinup says pick the pen up, and then teacher.shape was a procedure that will allow me to change the shape of my turtle. So I'm just going to use the turtle, the default normal shape right now, but you can change this to square, arrow, circle, or triangle. So check that out and play with that if you would like. So we also want to use a for loop that would allow us to basically draw the 4 sides or the 4 corners of our shape. So we're going to start out with for the sides, and we're going to use a range, the range function, to return a list that that goes from 0 to 4, but does not include 4. If I wanted to include 4, I would have had to start at 5, but we're going to put 4 there so it knows to end it at 4, but do not include 4, because we're going to have, again, that 0, 1, 2, and 3 that provides 4, still provides 4 sides for our object, or for our loop. It'll still loop through 4 times. So while it's looping through, and of course you see it did not indent for me there, and that's because I forgot my colon. So now I got my colon in there, and so we're going to say while you're going through our loop, the first thing we want it to do is we want it to move forward a certain amount of steps. All right, and so whatever steps, that value that we pushed, that we passed through, we're going to use that value to determine how far we move forward for on each side um, of the shape. Then next, we're going to say, hey, after you've moved forward, we want you to place a stamp. We're going to call the stamp procedure, and the stamp procedure just provides a copy of whatever the turtle shape is. So we have it as the actual turtle now, but if we had to put triangle or something else, it would just make duplicate copies of a triangle or a circle or something. So we're just going to say teacher.stamp, saying that, hey, every time you get to a corner, we want you to move this amount of many steps, and then we also want you to place a stamp there, right? Then we want it to also turn, elsewise it's going to keep on moving straight. So we're going to say turn right, so teacher.right, and then we need to make sure we pass the degrees for how far we want it to how much we want it to turn, which degrees. So understand we're putting 90 here because everybody's pretty familiar with a triangle being, I'm not triangle, I'm sorry, a square having 4 90-degree angles. But one thing I also want to point out is the total trip theorem with turtles, and that anytime you have a value that would, whatever, however many sides you have, if it equals up to 360, that shape is going to be closed. And so if you notice here, we have 90 degrees. We're going to have 4 turns. 4 times 9 is 36. And so just remembering that whenever you are going through a loop or something and you're having a shape be created through using the turtle object, that it's only going to be closed if the total amount is 360. So just the FYI, good thing for you to something for you to take note of as you're experimenting with the turtle object. So now that we've completed our procedure, now we want to go ahead and call that procedure, right? And the way we would do that, of course, is just simply, we don't need a print function or anything like that because it's a procedure. There's nothing going to be returned. It's just something for us to say, hey, we're going to call this procedure, and when we call it, it's going to execute the lines of code that are within that procedure, defined within that procedure. So, of course, we already know when we're calling a procedure, we do have to send 2 values with it because it's required. It has 2 parameters. So the turtle object that we're going to pass is going to be teacher, which is what we passed earlier. So we're just going to say teacher. And in regards to the steps, how many steps forward, we will, let's say 100. And if that ends up being too big, we'll just reduce it down. But I think so far we have everything that we need. We've defined our, we basically, initiated the code up here saying, hey, we need access to that library. We define what our space is going to be, what the turtle object is going to be. We define our procedure, and we're calling our procedure here. So now let's save and run. Perfect. And just one thing I want to make sure I just remember to point out again here is just don't forget that the reason why we were able to use teacher here to access the procedures for the turtle object is because teacher is the turtle object, or the name of the turtle object that we passed through when we called the procedure. And so, and again, you can see where we initialized the teacher variable to be the value of a turtle object, and here is where we took that object or that variable and we passed it on to this procedure, and we were able to utilize it here. All right, I hope this helps.